Hi, and welcome to another episode of Sophia's Choice, Conversations with Sophia, sponsored by the Via Hime Art House and Gallery. Today we are delighted to be at Manuelos restaurant, where we are going to be talking with none other than, in my estimation, one of the greatest chefs in the Bahamas, Chef Emanuel Gibson. And we are going to be talking about stuffing or dressing or kush, whichever one you prefer. Ladies and gentlemen, join us as we return in a moment. Hi, and welcome back to the conversation. Again, today I am sitting here with Chef Emanuel Gibson in his beautiful restaurant, Manuelos. Manny, we are talking about stuffing, one of the most talked about food items here in the Caribbean, in the Americas, in Africa, wherever. Let's talk about kush, couscous, stuffing, dressing. All of these beautiful names for a dish that we love. I was with at an appointment yesterday, and the lady working on me, and she's like, "I just can't wait to have some stuffing." That's the best thing about Thanksgiving. Let's talk a little bit about the origin of what we call in the Bahamas stuffing. Talk to me.
First of all, I just want to welcome you to Manuelos.
Thank you.
Welcome, and I'm happy and delighted to be doing this show with you. You know, and you mentioned something that I think a lot of Bahamians like. They like stuffing, and you know, because it's flavorful, it's rich. It has all of that drippings from the pan. You want to really cook it with a lot of love. So that's, and guess what? That's the reason I think why a lot of persons really like stuffing. You know, because it should be tasty. It got to be, you know, flavorful. So if you're going to make a turkey stuffing, so let's use those drippings and all of those nice fond from the pan and cook it with love, seasoned with a lot of fresh herbs. So you can see on my display, I have a lot of,
this is a fantastic display.
A lot of fresh herbs. So we got to cook it with love. And so at Manuelos, that's what we'll be doing during this Thanksgiving.
Or harvest for many of us. And I'm glad you mentioned drippings and leftovers and all of those kinds of things, because in my research of stuffing or couscous or dressing, as Americans tend to call it, it was first originated in 1800s, 1808 exactly. That was right after the emancipation of slavery in America. And the Africans brought this tradition with them from Africa, really. And what I found out, and again, that's where the name came from, kush, K-U-S-H.
Yes.
They really, after the harvest, and we are in a harvest period, the whole of October, November is harvest. But surprisingly, they did not celebrate Thanksgiving as we consider Thanksgiving right now until January 1st.
Wow.
And what they did was these were all the leftover corn and so on, because, you know, they would have been harvesting corn and so on for the masters, and so afterwards they would have they made a meal
1 second.
of this, and this is what they would have used as a mouthful. They actually call it a mouthful. And so when you mention drippings and everything, really the first two substantive ingredients, as I found out, was cornmeal and onions. And these would have been two of the products or harvest items that they were working with in the fields. Lots of onions, lots of corn from cornmeal. And so they made something that they could have made into a hearty meal for themselves. And so I found it very, very interesting. And it sort of transcended right into today's narrative about how we make stuffing. How did you make stuffing before you became a chef? Your recollection of stuffing in your home. What were the ingredients, the main ingredient? we have here, ladies and gentlemen, all of this beautiful stuff. And we're going to talk about a vegetarian stuffing in a little later on. But in the early stages of your growing up, how did you make stuffing?
So basically, before I go to that question, I want to piggyback of something you said in terms of, you know, the slaves and how they cook. And what I found out in my culinary career, sometimes a lot of recipes are created by just working with what you have.
Right.
You can find that, hey, you can create something wonderful. So I could imagine back in those days that, hey, they were hungry, they didn't have much, so they tried to create different things that they would want to use to eat, and hence
to create a meal. Really.
And hence we get something that is beautiful and is now being passed on for generations and generations. So I think that's very important, you know. And so for me, growing up as a chef in the hotel and a young kid trying to understand culinary, I've always had an idea about stuffing, you know, but nothing too fancy.
But how did you make it in your home? How did your mom or your grandmother made it in
just
the
basically
home?
old bread, and maybe adding the thymes and the onions and sweet pepper, working with what you have. But as my career grew, accelerated, I find other ways to, you know, enhance it, other ways to maybe maximize the flavor, because that's important when you cook. You want to maximize the flavor, making sure you're using some stock instead of water, making sure you're using some heavy cream instead of milk, making sure you're using butter instead of margarine. So you're using all those different techniques
to add flavor.
Add flavor. It's all about building in the flavors, building up the flavors, so that at the end of the day, you get a product that is outstanding and tasteful.
Tasty, and as the Native Americans would say, it's a mouthful.
It's a mouthful,
and speaking of the Native Americans, it was the Native Americans, we saw the Africans, later the African Americans, we saw the early Europeans. All of those people who were enslaved in some manner needed something that they could create and sustain themselves as they move along. And so it's not surprising that the slaves or the Africans, for example, who traveled across the continent and came our way, brought with them this wonderful dish that in many arenas, and now it's popularized as couscous. We know it as couscous in some arenas, but it's nothing more, as you indicated earlier, leftovers that they would have conjured up to create a meal later on. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a break, and when we return, we're going to invite Bill. I'm going to put on my apron and gloves and so on, and we're going to dig right into actually preparing vegan or a vegetarian stuffing. Now, many of us are not.
We have two now. By the way, we have two. So, you know, a lot of persons out there, they still want their traditional stuff.
They want the traditional stuff. Give me the traditional stuffing. I know some other folks like Don Ethan knows who would probably want the vegetarian stuffing. But we're going to talk about that as soon as we return. We'll be right back. Hi, and welcome back to the conversation. Again, I'm here with Chef Emanuel Gibson at Manuelos restaurant, and we're talking about stuffing today. But I wanted to just say that the show is sponsored by the Via Hime Art House and Gallery, and I am wearing one of the items from the gallery, which is a lovely apron. Do visit the gallery and pick up your apron.
Why didn't you bring me one of those aprons?
I have one in the car for you. Not to worry about that at all.
Right.
This show is also about food, art, and wine. And so just wanted to mention that we are drinking a little bit of, is it Pinot Noir?
Yes, Pinot Noir.
Pinot Noir today. And that complements white meat. It complements stuffing very nicely. We could have also had a white wine.
Yes, definitely. Certainly one thing with the Pinot Noir blend, it's strong enough for a red dish, and it's also light enough for a white dish. So
white dish.
This is one of what you call a crossover wine, so it can use either way, you know?
Right.
All depends what you're pairing it with. So it's a really good wine. If you're a red wine drinker and you want a red wine to go along with your turkey meal, and I will recommend a Pinot Noir. Yeah.
Okay, and of course you want to have a sip.
Yep, tastes really good.
Just to make sure it's on point. Yes, it is. And so, this is the most exciting part for me. Chef Gibson is going to...
So this is the part I get to be in charge.
Yes,
right?
you're in charge
so
of this part. I'm just the helper.
You stop all the talking.
With the gloves on.
Let the chef take over now, all right?
Yes.
So first of all, I just want to let you know what we're working with today. We have a nice turkey, but we're not going to use that today.
Okay.
But I just want to showcase it. And there's some lot of techniques that you can use when you go ahead and creating your stuffing. So make sure you get a really nice turkey. Make sure it's thawed out properly. Right? You can.
What about pre-seasoning of the turkey?
Yeah, you could either soak it overnight in a brine where you get some onions, some salt, kosher salt, some nice spices in there, and let the turkey immerse into that liquid.
No, what about lemon juice? People say lemon juice
is good
if
you like lemon is an acid, so anything with acid tends to break down
the meat,
the protein. So you could just use a little bit of vinegar is good, you know. Some nice spices in the water, and just let the turkey soak overnight. So what you'll find is that turkey will absorb some of that flavor, so that the seasoning just not only be on the outside the skin. So you're gonna impart some of that flavor also into the turkey. Also too, if you have a needle or whatever, you can fill that solution into that cooking needle, and you can keep it injecting in certain parts of the turkey, so that you get some of that flavor penetrate to the bone or to the meat. All right.
Right.
So it's not
turkey is very dense.
Yeah, turkey is very dense. So you don't want to just have a good tasting turkey and then a dry. No, you don't want to have a good tasting stuffing and then a dry turkey. So you need both of those to complement each other and marry well together. So at the end of the day, you have a really nice Thanksgiving meal, all right?
Absolutely.
So that's why I take that time to explain that. Also, too, if you want to, you can debone the turkey, so it's less time in the oven, right? And then you make a nice turkey ballantine or turkey roulade and stuff it up, and so it's more nice and moist. All
That's another show when we're going to debone.
All right, so now
he's going to show me how to debone the turkey.
All right, so let's get to the stuffing now.
Let's get to the stuffing.
We got a pan on, all right? So give me the olive oil right there. So
right there?
Yeah, right. Olive oil, the next one.
Oh.
Right behind there.
Oh, behind it. Okay.
So during the break, Dr. Roll asked me, what can she be doing? So I'm going to put her to work, all right? So if she cut her hand live on the show, you cannot blame me, all right? She said she want to work.
Yes.
So basically, I'm just going to put a little bit of olive oil in this.
And this pan is already preheated.
Yeah, I'm going to use olive oil, and I'm going to use a little bit of butter. And the reason for the olive oil is because this have a nice smoking point, because if I try to put butter into that, what's going to happen? The butter's going to burn, right? Okay. And then you're going to have.
But traditionally they use butter.
Yeah, they use butter. But I'm just going to start it with the olive oil. Yeah, I'm starting with a little olive oil, right? Now I'm going to put a little butter in there. Sorry.
Okay.
Put a little butter in there. All right. See, the oil is smoking because it has a higher smoking point. All right. So we got that going. So you can stir that around.
All right.
So we're making the traditional stuffing first, all right?
Yes, traditional. We're going to make two kinds of stuffing today.
Two kinds of stuffing, all right.
And one is vegetarian.
Vegetarian.
And the other is a traditional stuffing. That's my own.
All right, so we're going to put a little garlic in there.
Ooh.
No, garlic is for the flavor, all right? You gotta have
Is this the garlic that you bought in the bottle? Or?
I bought in the bottle.
What about fresh garlic?
Yeah, this is fresh garlic. So what I did, I bought it in a bottle, but I processed it in the machine.
Yeah.
Then I add olive oil to it, so I make it into a paste. So whenever I'm ready for it, I can go ahead and use it.
Okay, you made it into a paste.
Yeah, I made it into a paste.
Talented, eh?
All right, so good. We add the onions now.
These chopped onions.
All right, so we talked about earlier during our introduction, maximizing the flavor and building the flavor. That's important. So we start with the olive oil base. Then we add a little butter in there to make sure the oil doesn't smoke. And we lose control of the cooking temperature. Now we're going to add our onions. And one thing with onions, Dr. Roll, is that you want to cook them until they translucent, until they bring out all that natural sugar.
Yes.
That's important when you're cooking with onions, because
onions have sugar, believe it or not.
Have a lot of sugar. So if you make it, you caramelize it really nice, you're going to get a lot of sweet, rich flavor, all right? So I have two kinds of onions I'm working with. I'm working with white, and I'm going to work with a little purple onion. Let's take some out there. Good. Rip. So we're looking good.
So you want to caramelize the onions properly?
Yeah, caramelize them properly.
In other words, you want to continue to stir. This process as well. Yeah. But some people just leave it and it burns, and then that ruins the whole pot.
We want nothing burn. Right. So I'm just going to season.
That's black pepper.
Black pepper, nice cracked pepper.
Cracked pepper.
I'm going to put some thyme in there. So you see we're building the flavor,
Yes,
we're building the foundation for the flavor.
And this looks like fresh thyme.
Fresh thyme.
Fresh thyme.
You can't go and buy store-bought thyme. You need fresh thyme.
Fresh thyme.
All right.
What about the what's the other kind of thyme? Wild thyme.
Wild thyme. Yeah, that's
good
important.
too?
Yeah, that's good too. So while you're stirring that, just let me turn it on low. Let's talk about this. All right.
Now I notice you have croutons here.
These are croutons.
Right. Now, in the early days, what they did was leftover bread and cornbread and all of those kinds of things. In my household, we purposely bought bread early and just let it rest a little while so it gets to a level of staleness almost. And that's what we pinched to put in the stuffing. Right, that's what we did closer to Christmas.
That's certainly important. But one point I want to make is that these are seasoned croutons. So certainly, if I'm working from a point where I have a breadcrumbs that I adding to my seasoning, to my stuffing that's already seasoned,
right?
Certainly, the flavor to this will be much more intense versus using something that is unseasoned.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So
yes.
Working with building the flavors as you go tends to make
this cut down on the thyme and all of that anyhow.
Stuff,
right. So we use seasoned croutons.
Seasoned croutons, all right? So I'm just going to put some peppers.
Sweet peppers.
Yeah, we need some peppers.
Bell peppers.
Yeah, nice bell peppers.
I wonder why we call them sweet peppers as opposed to bell peppers.
That's a good question. They're supposed to have some sweetness to it, you know?
Because the onions have sugar.
No, versus when you line them up with the regular kind of peppers, goat pepper, bird pepper, those are really spicy. So I guess, you know, working with this, you don't really have that heat that is normally associated with peppers. When you think of pepper, you think of hot, you know, you think of spice.
Right.
So hence you have a pepper that is kind of mild. Subtle. So we call them sweet pepper. But they are actually not sweet. But they can be sweet if you allow them to cook out properly, you know, like the onions and develop
the sugar. Could we put in the red version of that pepper as well?
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
We can.
Just, to make it look pretty.
If you have any, what do you call, gizzards and, you know, livers and stuff like that, and I know
from the turkey,
you want to go ahead and add it at this time, you know, that's important.
So,
you know, so I'm just going to go ahead and add the gizzard. Yeah.
He didn't let me use the knife. Notice that.
No, I'm not going to do that.
I could, you know.
Yeah, I'm going to let you
I mean,
stir.
you know, I at one point I did train chefs. That's back in the day when I was in university. But, you know, and I do make a main dish myself.
All right, so we're just going to add some ground veal to this stuffing, all right?
Oh.
Yep, we're going to make
That's
this.
That's different.
Yep.
Ground veal.
All right.
Where do you find this?
You can find it in any market, fresh market
or one of those.
Value, yeah. You want to add, you know, get that. If you want, a person who wants lobster or anything, this is the time now to go ahead and
put in any type of meat or
any
whatever.
Kind of meat, yeah. Once you already sauteed the herbs, the onions, the peppers, now let's add in the meat. All right, so looking good. We make sure we get heat. All right, we good with heat.
As Chef Manny said, this would be the time to put in your any type of meat.
Any kind of meat, lobster, conch, if you want conch stuffing, anything like that.
Chicken bits, even if you want to. Certainly the gizzard,
the
liver, because you want those to cook properly,
yeah.
ahead of time. That's the key.
All right.
All right. That's the liver.
That's the liver.
I mean, that's the gizzard.
The gizzard. All right. So we're looking good.
You're gonna be looking good.
Make sure you smell that flavor. All right.
Smelling good in here?
Looking good, looking good.
So it's looking good.
Now, of course, we need some moisture.
Yeah.
I'm using chicken stock, right?
Okay.
And then
tell us how to make chicken stock again. Some people don't know.
Yeah, stock is a liquid you derive from the simmering of bones with mirepoix. Mirepoix is what we call in culinary onions, garlic, celery, aromatics like thyme, bay leaves, cracked pepper. So we make something a liquid rather than using water. We use the liquid. So this is a foundation that automatically adds flavor to our stuffing. All right.
Right. And I remember a previous show when I was working with your colleague, Chef Farrington.
Yeah.
She was talking about that mirepoix, and we actually made some that day. And so I remembered that well. I love that name, mirepoix. Mirepoix.
So I'm using some sea salt, right? Natural Ragged Island sea salt, right? My good friend Darryl Miller brought this in for me, so I'm going to give him a little plug today.
Yeah.
Right? So, Darryl, we're going to use your sea salt.
Ragged Island.
Ragged Island sea salt to season
one of the islands in the Bahamas.
One of the islands in the Bahamas to season my my stuff.
And Ragged Island is known for salt.
So, what I'm doing, if you notice, I add the peppers, the garlic, and I'm building up the flavors. I'm not going to wait till the meal finished and seasoned. That's a good technique. But sometimes you want to just build up the flavors, you know, so everything is nice and seasoned.
Now let me ask you a question
really.
here, because we're using seasoned croutons already.
A seasoned
So
crouton.
at what point do you want to temper that so that it's not overly seasoned?
All right, so it's just all about balance, you know. And so I have my liquid, which is fresh. I have my milk, which is fresh. So I'm just lightly enhancing the flavors by adding, like building.
And
up
I
the
noticed you
flavors,
just put a pinch of salt in
a
there.
pinch of salt. I didn't put plenty of salt. I'm using.
And this Ragged Island salt is different from the Morton's.
Yeah, different from the Morton salt. It really gives, you know, gives
It's a little
that food.
heavier.
Yeah.
It's heavier,
Yeah.
so you don't want to use as much as you would use if you're using the box salt.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And so, you know. All right, so we're looking good. Now I think we're ready for the stuffing. All right.
Yeah. The
So we
bread.
can go ahead, the bread. We're gonna add that right in there.
Okay.
All right, that right in there. See, it's already seasoned. Everything. I'm not just using plain bread with no seasoning on it. I'm using bread that's already been seasoned. Now I know at the end of the day the stuffing is going to taste good.
Now I noticed there's some poppy seeds or something on that bread as well.
Yeah, that's sesame seed. That's the
Sesame
bread
seed.
on the board.
Okay.
So now I'm going to add the liquid.
Uh-huh.
So a little bit of chicken stock. All right.
Ooh, can you see that bubbling? Oh
See that?
my goodness.
I'm going to
It
add some
smells delicious.
cream, milk, heavy cream.
Then this is a first. I never knew that you added milk or heavy cream into your stuffing.
Yeah, we need that. Like I said, we want flavor. We want, you know. Now we're just going to let that nice simmer and absorb some into that seasoned crumb, into that foundation that we started with all that herbs and garlic and peppers and onions.
And,
so
and
that's
ladies
going to
and
come
gentlemen,
together
you
really.
can see why this is a meal in and of itself before you even attempt to put it in the stuffing.
You have to make the meal happy.
In the bird, in the cavity of the bird.
That stuffing is really happy now. You look at that?
Oh yeah, my goodness.
That's happy.
Woo!
All right, let me get there. Just a happy stuffing, all right? We know this tastes good.
Yes.
Now imagine now you use the same technique now with lobster, with people love and, you know. All right, so we're looking good.
Looking good, looking good.
Now we have a herb garden. We have a variety of herbs. And this is like perfume. This is going to actually wake up the stuffing. So I have mint, I have basil, I have fresh.
Rosemary. There's no rosemary is not in there.
I have some flat leaf parsley. I have some dill and I have some curly leaf parsley. So we're going to chop just a few of those. And we're going to add those at the last minute of the stuffing, which is going to enhance the flavor and really give it a burst of fresh.
And aroma, the aroma is going to be magnificent.
That's important. All right, so don't go ahead and use store-bought herbs and stuff for your stuffing. Try to go and get some fresh.
Try to remember, try to put yourself back in the day when the slaves did this. And they would have gotten things right out of the garden, or wherever, the fields where they would have been working to put into their pot. So you want to sort of imitate that style of cooking. Somewhere I read, and of course, when Americans changed the name from stuffing to dressing, everything came out of the box.
Oh yeah?
Yes, and so there's nothing wrong with that, mind you, because they did that obviously for convenience purposes. But we want to try to go back into our roots and emulate some of the traditional methods of cooking, some of the things that we prepare. And it's healthier, of course, being able to cook right out of your garden.
All right, so now it's the most important part, Dr. Roll. They got to taste it.
Okay.
We just don't want to cook this blind. So you wait on me. Wait on me.
Put no bread on there.
All right, let me get you some. Get you some. I know you tell me you was on a diet, huh?
I am.
All right, good. That's good.
Ooh.
Amazing.
Amazing.
You taste that burst of flavor, you know, very simple technique.
Yes, and you didn't even put the stuff
and put
in
the herbs
yet.
in. Now we're going to wake it up.
It's just fantastic. Oh my goodness.
All right, so let's now add the...
And you can literally eat this as is.
As is. You know, but you
We
know...
haven't gotten to the turkey yet.
But you know a lot of person really, I mean, wouldn't try that though.
What?
Eat this as is.
Why?
They want their big plate.
Oh, well.
With their macaroni, their rice, their stuffing. What else they put along with them? Yam, some sweet pepper, coleslaw.
Macaroni,
the works.
plantain, you name it.
Yeah. So I'm just going to rough chop it. I don't want it, you know, just rough chop it.
Okay, rough chop.
Put it right in there like that. you know.
So you put all of these, or you just?
I just put a combination. I put some flat leaf parsley. I put a little basil, you know, just to wake up that flavor.
Okay.
All right. So go ahead and stir that in.
Okay. And you don't want to do too much more stirring because
no, not too much stirring. And
the bread is already moist.
The bread's already moist, and that's one of the benefits too of starting with a crouton that's already been in the oven. So you certainly going to control the texture of the stuffing,
right?
Because if you work with a bread that is from just cutting it from out of the bag, it's going to be very soft. Your stuffing tends to be, you know, mushy. So we're working with something that's already been in the oven, already been seasoned, and it really has a good foundation. All right.
Yes, and that's it, ladies and gentlemen. That is your traditional stuffing. Now, from this point, you let it cool before you put it in the cavity of the turkey?
Yeah, yes, you can let it cool if you want to put it in the cavity of the turkey. Go ahead and do that. But I know sometimes person like to put it in a casserole pan and then maybe put it in the oven with a little Parmesan cheese on top and really get it really extra crunch.
Right.
Or if you want, you can get a plastic wrap, put it into a nice plastic wrap, roll it up really, really tight into a log, and then you have something that you can slice, you know.
Is that right?
Yeah, so
that's a new one. So you put that in sort of like a, what you call it, parchment paper?
Like a parchment paper or plastic wrap, saran wrap, and roll it up into a log. Tight. And then you can...
This is when it's cool now.
When it's cool, and then you can go ahead and cook that, and then slice that. So everybody get an equal portion of sliced stuffing.
This is the chef.
Yeah. So
equal portions. You don't need a whole plate of stuffing.
So if I'm working in a fine dining restaurant, I want that to look uniform. That's the way I'll do it.
Okay,
you know?
that's a nice little tip.
Traditional way, let it cool, put it into the turkey during half of the cooking time now. Once the turkey is half cooked, take it out, put the stuffing in there, and then let it.
Okay, so again, I'm learning so much today.
So I would
I would have put it in as soon as I put the turkey in the oven.
No, it really. I mean,
it's not necessary.
No, I would maybe put some thyme in that cavity. Maybe put some carrots, some onions, some celery, and let that infuse the turkey first. And halfway during the cooking time, or when the turkey is almost finished, right? Then I will take that out and add that to the turkey.
You know, this is a chef talking, right? Because most of us would feel afraid to go into a hot oven and fool with a hot turkey midway through. Tell me something. How long does it take for this side's turkey to cook?
All depends on the oven temperature now. So when you're baking your turkey, you want to start at a high temperature. And the reason for that is you want to really let heat to penetrate the skin of the turkey. And you want it to really get crispy, right? Okay. So once it gets crispy, then you now can turn it down. You want to seal in those juices. A couple things not to do when you're cooking turkey. And we learned this in culinary school. Try not to cover the turkey. Because when you cover the turkey, you're allowing all that moisture to stay in there. And for a really good turkey, the skin needs to be crisp. So when you cut it with your knife, you want to hear the crackling sound. You want a nice crispy skin. Also, too, try not to pass the turkey. When you pass the turkey, you're now allowing all those juices to run out.
Escape.
And then when your turkey is dry, hey, you're wondering why, because you stick in it. All right. So let's get the skin crispy, and how best to get it crispy is by turning the oven up to maybe 375, 400. Get that heat to penetrate.
For about an hour.
If an hour. Get that skin to penetrate that turkey. Get a really nice brown color going. Then we turn it down and allow it to just slowly, maybe to 300, slowly cook. And then we take it out and we add our stuffing in the middle of it.
Honestly, that is some excellent advice, because so one of the hacks that we use in my family is to turn the turkey on its breast, so that as it's cooking, even slowly, the moisture is going down in the breast area, which is so dry.
That is a good technique, right? But not everyone likes their turkey like that. So sometimes person would like it, turn it down in that dripping in the pan, and want some of that dripping to infuse into that breast. That's really, really good. But working in New York, and I used to cook for a gentleman, he likes the turkey, the skin got it crisp. So when I'm serving it to him, I have to make sure that skin is crispy. And the only way to get that is to make sure the oven is hot, and I get a really good crisp going on my skin, on the skin of the turkey, and then turning it down.
So you really have to watch the turkey.
Watch the turkey.
For about an hour, high heat.
High heat. Not really high heat now. 400. Don't go 500 because it's going to burn it quick.
In some ovens, you have to know if your oven is one of them ovens that gets really, really hot. Electric ovens tend not to get as hot as the propane ovens. So, but you have to manage that in terms of how high you want to start off with no more than an hour
at a
first.
high temperature.
High temperature, and then bring it down.
Bring it down.
For about 2 hours.
Yeah, 2 hours at finish.
Yeah, because I know these Morton birds, they inject them with a lot of fat already. So to me, it's less cooking time even on them now.
And another technique which I didn't mention, basting. Basting is something we use in culinary. Basting or larding. Larding meaning I can take needle full of fat and I can insert that in lard the turkey with butter or something like that. Right? That's what they call it, butterball turkey. So you know they have inject fat into that turkey. Or I can baste meaning I can take the drippings from the pan
sides
and just put over the skin.
Yeah.
What I'm doing now, I'm adding extra seasoning, extra flavor, all those different stuff you're adding to the turkey. So baste your turkey every now and then, but try not to cover it. So as you baste it, that butter is going to add flavor and also going to help crisp the skin, because as that butter absorb through the skin, you're going to give it a nice color, a nice shine, a nice flavor, you know. So let's cook with love. Let's make sure the food tastes
Do not cover your
good.
turkey.
Do not cover it, and do not stick it. If I see anybody sticking turkey,
it's going to be me and you.
I call the COVID police for them. Right? That should be a crime.
You call the turkey police.
Turkey police, all right?
Okay.
That should be a crime.
Yes.
Sticking turkey.
Yes, it is.
Let's make that a crime, man.
Right.
This holiday season, all right?
So, we've made the traditional stuffing. We're now going to do the vegetarian stuffing for our vegetarian and vegan friends who do not eat meat and some of the breads that would have been made out of the heavy cream and so on. So we're going to do something that's becoming very, very popular nowadays, and that's the vegetarian or vegan meals. And so take it away. So can we move this?
Let's move it, yeah.
Hi, and welcome back. Once again, in our last segment, we're going to be talking with Chef Gibson, and we're going to be preparing a vegan stuffing. And this is going to go over very well for the vegans, the people who just want to do less meat in their diet over all of this holiday season. So, Chef, I'm going to just turn it over to you because you are obviously the expert here.
All right.
I'm just the help.
All right, so there we go. So for the vegan stuffing, what I'm going to do, I'm going to use much more herbs. I'm going to use other things that are going to get more flavor from. I have pistachio, right? So I'm going to use some pistachio nuts, all right? I'm going to use some dry cranberries, right?
Okay. Ooh.
Dry cranberries. I'm also going to throw in a handful of fresh cranberries. So I'm going to try and just maximize. You know, sometimes people think vegan food is, or vegetarian food is bland. So I'm going to add things in there to really add more flavor to the dish, all right? So we're just going to start with the olive oil.
Again.
Olive oil there quick. I'm not going to use butter for this one. I'm just going to use olive oil. Yeah.
And this is the virgin olive oil.
Yeah.
Virgin olive oil.
So let's get that hot. So once that's hot, we're going to, same technique, we're going to add the onions. All right. Going to add some yellow squash.
Okay. Onions, yellow squash.
All right. Got some zucchini in there.
Zucchini.
All right. Then I'm going to go ahead and add my garlic. So go ahead, stir that, Dr. Rose. Stir that for me.
I was wondering when you was going to invite me to stir.
That's your job.
That's my job here.
That's your job. So when people ask you, did you make that stuffing, Dr. Rose? Yes, I did.
Yes, I did.
I stir it in.
I stir it.
All right, so we're looking good. We're looking good. Just a little more olive oil.
Yeah, because that's okay. All righty then.
All right, so good. We're looking good. So we just want this stuffing, like I said, you know, this is vegetarian, so we want it to be really flavorful. We don't want it to be bland, you know.
So this squash and zucchini, you want to bring them to not a mushy
not a mushy
texture, but
they're really, really translucent, nice.
So blanching almost, not blanching, but
just sauteing.
That's the terminology. Sauteing.
Yeah. Now check all these nice vegetables I get going in there. I got nice zucchini, squash. I got some nice diced pumpkin.
Pumpkin.
All right.
We are in the season.
Yep.
Harvest.
So
and remember, we this would have been if we put ourselves where the slaves were. These pumpkins and things like that would have been crops that they would have been growing. So yeah. So again, right there.
I'm certain any vegetarian seeing this will be happy. You agree? All those nice vegetables. I'm gonna just season.
Just a little bit of that seasoned salt. Remember we said that's more potent than the regular box salt.
Yep. So let's build up those flavors.
Black pepper.
Black pepper.
So far we have onions, we have zucchini, we have squash, we have pumpkins, black pepper, garlic.
Garlic.
And did you use thyme?
Yeah, certainly. I'm going to add some right now. Get some thyme in there.
Woo.
You know, let's get that flavor going.
So, no different really from the original.
This stuffing can actually taste better than the first one we made.
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing that.
You see all the love, all the vegetables, all the nice, healthy stuff.
For those of us who want to watch our weight beginning the season before January 1.
I'm going to throw some cranberries in there.
Oh my goodness, my favorite.
All right,
let's
get some diced pistachio going in there.
So he's going to dice. I don't know why he don't let me handle the knife. I really don't understand it. I can't handle the knife.
Pistachio in there, all right?
Pistachio.
So let me...
Where do you find pistachio like that?
I got them from Fresh Market.
Fresh Market?
So give me some of that fresh cranberry.
You can go to Super Value, any of the grocery stores really, and find some of these things. In there. Oh, so you're not going to cut those up?
No, let them burst and add flavor to this stuffing, all right?
And there's no seeds in those, right?
Yeah.
No, okay.
They're good.
Oh, that Lord, that looks
I'm going to add some spinach in there, all right?
Is that spinach?
Yep, spinach.
Oh, did you see that? Did you see that?
Spinach in there.
I'm doing this for my friend Donette. Donette, this is for you.
All the vegetarians out there, you should be happy seeing this, all right? Let's move that spoon. Let's get some action going on.
I'm not going to do that. No. Woo.
So you want a really nice color. You don't want to mash them up now. So that's why I use that technique, all right?
Yeah, folding. It's folding
over. And I'm just going to sprinkle. I'm using unseasoned croutons this time, all right?
Okay, unseasoned croutons.
You know why? Because I have so much flavor with all those cranberries, all those vegetables. I want the flavor to be more neutral, all right?
Now let me ask you a question about this crouton. Yeah. Could this be made with, what type of flour would you make that from? Because I know most vegans would use a different kind of, they would use the processed flour that we use. What kind of flour would they use for that?
I think I forget the name of the brand, but I had a few last week. I'll have to do a little research and get that if anyone really
So whatever type of bread that you use, you want to...
yeah, we want to use that at this
as the crouton.
At this point, yeah.
Unseasoned.
I'm using a little bit of vegetable stock.
Vegetable stock.
Yeah.
Not beef stock, vegetable.
Stock. Let's bring that together until that come around. Now, like I said, this stuffing, we're going to add certainly much more herbs in this, all right?
Yeah.
Because we want to,
that is beautiful. That folding technique again. I'm not going to try that because we want to keep this stuff in the pan.
All right, so let me get some herbs in there. I'm going to use a little bit of everything in there.
What about the mint?
Yeah, I'm going to use that. That's good.
And the dill.
Yeah,
I love dill.
Give me some dill right there, if you will.
I get to take the dill.
All right.
I can't cut that?
All right, give me the curly parsley.
Curly parsley.
Yeah.
Can I cut that?
You go ahead then. Don't cut your hand, all right? Like, let's ball it up. When you're cutting herbs, you want to get into a nice tight ball. Nice and tight, right? And then you're going to go ahead and cut up, all right? So while you cut, I'll do the stirring, all right?
Right.
Make sure our stuffing is not...
And again, you want to cut this in a loose, would you call it a loose cut?
Yeah, loose cut. When we cut herbs, we call it chiffonade, all right? So we just want to cut it into nice little strips, little strands. So our stuffing is looking good. If you notice now, it's not soft and not, like the first one. You can throw that in there.
Throw that in there?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, looking good.
One of the things I don't do is rake my knife on the cutting board, the blade part. I usually use the back of the knife so that
you don't mess up the blade?
You wouldn't mess up the blade.
All right.
So, you saw people scraping like that. You want to use the back of the knife on the cutting board.
All right, so we're looking good.
Looking good.
All right, so let's get a taste.
Remember, we're drinking any color wine, but this is a red Pinot Noir that we're going to... Pinot Noir.
All right, so let's get a spoon ready so we can do a taste.
So I could sip good. I could stir good.
All right. See, those cranberries are now looking really good. So imagine when they burst in there, they're going to give some more flavor. All right, so that's important.
Ooh, it's hot in this kitchen.
All right. But that's a really, you like the color in that, Dr.
Yes, it's beautiful. The color is
that.
just magnificent.
I love that.
And I know, now with the traditional one, you used heavy cream.
I use heavy cream.
What would you use for this, if
you have
necessary?
some skim milk or a little almond milk or anything like that, you know, go ahead and put it in there.
Okay. And that serves to bring it together as well.
Just bring it together and just moisten it, keep it moist.
You don't want to swim it,
Yeah.
just a little bit for flavor.
Yeah. All right, get your spoon ready.
Okay, my spoon is right here. Make sure the spoon that you're tasting, you don't want to put that in the food.
All right, so we're using a second spoon for that.
Right. Always have a separate tasting spoon. Delicious.
Trust me, I could eat this one, you know? I could
You know
eat this
what?
one. Yeah.
I think I'm going to switch this Christmas.
Oh, yeah? Well, I think that'll be a good choice if you do that. You know, you'll keep down a few extra pounds, right?
Yes.
And
This
get all
is
those
just delicious.
nutrition values and they're going.
So, now could we added for this dish pumpkin, squash, zucchini. What else could we add? Any kind of vegetables?
I'll say any kind. You know, just make sure the vegetable could withstand the long cooking process. Make sure they're not something that can break down rather easily. The spinach could break down rather easily, but we want to add those in at the last, so it gives the stuffing that nice nice color.
And you could taste the crunchiness of the pistachio in there as well.
The crunch, the sweetness from the cranberry, the nice acidic from the fresh cranberry, so all those flavor.
I see you have dates. Did we use the dates?
No, we didn't use no dates.
We could though,
yeah,
right?
but they can. If they want more sweetness to the stuffing, they can add more dates in there, you know?
That is good.
All right.
Ooh, look at that. I'm taking this one off.
There we go. So we got our stuffing. We got our tips on how to work the turkey. And sometimes persons who use turkey, they might want a Cornish hen.
Right.
Well, you can have a stuffed Cornish hen for Thanksgiving. And it'll be less
or Christmas.
on the...
Or duck. What about, could we put this in, that stuff, both of the stuffings that we did, could we put those in a duck?
I think so. But bear in mind, a duck cooks longer in the oven. So you'll need at least 2-3 hours in the oven for that duck. And you really want to get rid of all of that fat from the duck first.
Right.
And then go ahead and stuff it, because you don't want the stuffing to absorb all that fat that is being rendered from that duck.
The duck has a lot more fat than turkey.
Yeah, a lot of fat in turkey.
Okay.
But one thing I think we should talk about too is the price of the turkey that's been
now we know prices of turkeys. The price of turkey has escalated over the last few months. So I probably would maybe if you don't have a big family, you could buy a turkey breast and just do the stuffing on the side.
So basically what that means is that family needs to be really conservative, not try and overeat, because it's really an expensive item.
Yes.
I saw in the store now they have it like for $70. So try not, if you don't have to cook the whole turkey, this is the best time now to cut it in half. Okay?
Right.
Cut it in half and use half of that turkey.
Would you debone it before you cut it in half?
If you want it, if you like it like that, you can just cut it in half. But if you're going to debone it, and I would say if you have a small family, try not to cook the whole turkey,
because invariably you waste.
You're going to waste the food.
Yes.
So
okay.
With the price being $70 now, that's almost the price.
And that's conservative. Because I've seen it for a lot more than that.
Yeah, I've seen this for 70, so that's important. Yeah.
Chef Gibson, honestly, this has been an exciting episode and very, very informative, in fact. And I am hoping my audience out there really enjoyed cooking both the traditional as well as the vegetarian style of stuffing, dressing, couscous, as is known in certain parts of the world. And you would have learned something today. For me, I learned about how to prepare my turkey for the oven so that I can get a better turkey at the end of the day, and certainly how to prepare a nice vegetarian stuffing, which is different from the traditional. So I want to thank you on behalf of the Via Hime Art House and Gallery as part of Conversations with Sophia. We want to thank you so much for allowing us this opportunity to come in and learn something from you, and I hope my audience learned something as well. We will see you again very soon on the Conversations. Thank you so much for joining us.